Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Tai'Shar Manethrin, a Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Will.
I'm Will. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Sam.
Way to confuse him, Sam. Gosh. We're continuing on today in our discussion of Eye of the World. If you're new to the podcast, then thank you so much for joining us. You should probably actually go back to the previous episode. But if you just listen to the previous episode and you're joining us, then thank you so much. If you are one of our longtime listeners, I just want to say thank you for joining us again as we go through this one more time to kind of try to do it justice.
We'll try to make this entertaining for you.
Yes, we're trying to add in a few new gags, have fun. So Sam is handling the summary this time. I'm doing the color commentary. So Samuel, why don't you take it away?
All right, Chapter 13, Choices. We start with Moraine healing everybody with a power. Only Egwene wants it done for some reason. Man, can I just be first in line? Around mile 3 this morning, it would have been real nice to have Moraine lay hands on me.
Right.
It was cold out there. Whatever the polar vortex, whatever was going on with that. Mm-hmm. Tom jerks away, but Moraine kind of puts him in a headlock and does it anyway. Rand wonders as the weariness drains out of him, but is reminded that ain't nobody there to do the same for Moraine. Like I was saying last episode, she's just kind of always tired throughout this whole book.
Poor lady, yeah.
Rand sleeps for about an hour and then wakes up feeling refreshed when Lan wakes him up. Yeah, that's a neat trick. I want it real bad. Maybe then I could give up on that whole pot of coffee every morning.
Well, that would be awfully neat, just to be able to, like, whatever you're doing, just have somebody, wash away your fatigue, and then you just be like, hey, no, back at it, man.
Yeah, just get back focused. Like, not that, you get an hour or two of sleep, and then, you get up and you power through, you drink a bunch of coffee, but it's not the same.
Right.
Like, it'd be nice if you could just get the hour or two of sleep and then really be back 100%. Yeah, not the way it goes. So on the road to Barillon for a week. It's crazy that, like, in some of these later books, we spend so much time in a day or in a week. And
right.
In this book, it's like, yeah, it's a week. Week passes, no big deal. It's like a lot more time passes in this book and the next one.
Yeah, I think the first 2 books are about a year or a year and a half even, and then it's like the rest of the books are a year.
Right. And it's like a chapter where Matt goes and gets lunch.
Right, exactly.
Like, this is part of the problem, I want to say.
Yeah, the pace slows down considerably once you get a few books in.
So Lan spends time working with Rand and his sword, Perrin and his axe. A little kind of, I don't know, Star Wars montage, training montage. I just kind of think of Lan says, blank your mind, sheep herder, empty it of hate, fear, everything. I'm just thinking of the little droid flying around. Rand says it's like the flame in the void that Tam taught him. It's just like Tam said, feed all of your emotions into the flame you picture in your mind and just kind of enter this oneness with the universe. Mm-hmm. Of course, all 3 kids are Two Rivers snipers already with their longbows because that's just a thing.
Yep.
Egwene unbraids her hair, which absolutely shocks Rand.
Because she just got permission to braid it.
She was so obsessed with braiding her hair, and now she doesn't want to do it. She says, I don't have to braid their hair unless they want to. You can braid if you want to. You can leave your friends behind because your friends don't braid. And if they don't braid, then they're no friends of mine. Takes offense for some reason. Says, you're not an Aes Sedai. And then they bicker a bit until Lan says, shut up. But not before Egwene says, Rand is the muleyest, most wool-headed.
Them's fighting words right there. Right? Yeah. Wool-headed.
Mm-hmm.
You ninny-twitted Applejohn.
Matt, in typical Matt fashion, figures they've lost the Trollocs and might as well go to Ilion. Oh yeah, no dark friends there. Nope, not a one.
Just you wait.
Just you wait, Edwin Higgins. Moraine says the Dark One is after them for a reason, and she can't figure out. And if she can't figure out why, she'll kill them all herself rather than let the Dark One have them. Charming lady. kind of makes me think of Galadriel there a little bit,
Yes, very, very Galadriel-esque.
Yeah, let's get Cate Blanchett on this show.
Yes,
that'd be a thing.
Actually, Rosamund Pike kind of has a Kate Blanchett kind of vibe.
She does. She's a little younger. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, 100%. That's a very good,
Right.
good point. Good observation.
Right.
So
Right.
Rand spies on Moraine and Egwene and hears them talking about the 5 powers. Moraine says the male Aes Sedai are the ones who broke the world, led by your boy Lews Therin. And oh yeah, it's true that any man who channels loses his mind. So Egwene asks why the Trollocs came to Emond's Field, and Moraine makes it real clear she knows Rand is hiding. Barillon. So they're going to Barillon. Moraine is Alice and Lan is Andra here. The gatekeeper recognizes him, lets him in.
That's like, you ever are with a friend that you know from, I don't know, it could be high school or college, and you're like hanging out with them with like new friends, and their new friends like call them something different.
And you're like, whoa.
And you're like, that's not what.
Your name is Cheez-Its here? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Cheez-Its, good to see ya. No, I know exactly what you mean. That seems like a great prank. I mean, it would be really difficult to pull off. Like, bring somebody to a group of people they've never met before and just tell everybody, like, all right, my name is Cheez-Its to you. Just call me Cheez-Its as long as he's here.
No, yeah, I feel like you got to go whole hog and go Cheez-Its the wise, like to keep with the...
Right. I'm all about it. This is a good idea. I need to find a way to make this happen. So there are white cloaks here. I don't know if we've encountered white cloaks.
We haven't encountered white cloaks. Sam, can you tell us a little bit about white cloaks, maybe?
White cloaks are awful. They are literally worse than the dark one, I think, personally. The dark one, at least, he just seems, he's just the dark one. It's what he is. I'm sorry. It's what's going to happen.
It's nothing against you. He just wants to destroy everything.
The white cloaks are just awful. They're just awful. I don't know what else to say. They're dressed up in these like bright white outfits, and they say everybody's a dark friend, and they have some inquisitors, kind of like the Spanish Inquisition. And
no one expects the White Cloak Inquisition.
And that's about it, really.
Well, they're super self-righteous. They're kind of like religious zealots. They're, kind of seem to me a pretty clear commentary on like kind of religious fundamentalism that has kind of even as you discover more about them, you find that really they're not even following their own precepts, and but they're very much about they're very
hypocrisy.
Exactly. They're very legalistic and hypocritical. So there's some clear real world parallels that you can just draw for yourself.
Mm-hmm. So there's also apparently a false dragon in Gildan, according to people in Barillon. Tom tells Rand about the prophecies of the dragon and how the Stone of Tyr must fall to prove the dragon has been reborn.
The Stone of Tyr, by the way, is a fortress.
Yeah, it's a big old mountain fortress. It's like they built a mountain and made a fortress inside it.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
Or maybe a big hill. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
See how they do that.
Yeah, I think I compared it to the Stone Mountain as like the way I pictured it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they arrive at the inn, the Stag and the Lion. This is not my favorite inn name. I'm going to tell you my favorite inn name, and this doesn't give anything away. But Easing the Badger. Yeah,
Easing the Badger. Yeah, I was about
Easing
to say.
the Badger. Yeah, that's got to be.
That's not a difficult call at all. Yeah. Yeah.
Chapter 14: The Stag and the Lion. Matt almost lets slip about the Trollocs, invading the Two Rivers in response to more info about the dude in Saldaea. And the others are all like, shut up! What are you talking about?
Of course I know a Baggins. Frodo Baggins.
Exactly. Yeah, you're making the point. Lan smacks him upside the head, gives him a lecture about what they can and can't say, especially with white cloaks around. Everybody takes a bath. Okay. Rand spots Moraine talking to a girl in boy's clothing. This is an important character. This is one of those times we're going to tell you, hi, right here. This is an important character. We're telling you,
Yeah.
Pay attention.
This is a character that is going to show up a whole lot and become more and more important. We're not going to tell you everything about her, but
has been cast in the television program and everything.
Yep. Exactly.
Moraine has gotten a private dining room. Fancy. Rand starts to apologize to Egwene, but she turns her back on him. Lan has heard some rumors. Loghain was victorious in Gildan. No mention of Trollocs or Myrddraal around here, though, so that's nice. I still love the idea that, a Trolloc or Myrddraal could be a stranger, in town. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this one dude has no face, and his buddy has the face of a goat, but he's just passing through, man.
Yeah, just normal
his
people.
Life, And, to be clear, if you're reading for this for the first time, that's not normal. There's not like, in some fantasy novels, you might have other races like, dwarves or gnomes or Tauren or whatever. They're walking around town and just, they might be selling flowers. No, that is not the case in the Wheel of Time. If you have anything other than a human, or there's one, but
there are a couple of,
but they're not just wandering around town.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you do have, there is one particular shadow spawn that specializes in not being seen.
Yes, touche. But definitely not the Fades.
You're right. Yeah, they're very easy to spot and terrifying. Like, it's like, even if they were trying to hide, if anybody saw them, they would cause a scene.
Yeah, they have no eyes and they have a maggot face. I mean, they're like pasted maggot face. So, yeah, no.
Yeah.
As we're about to find out here. So Rand goes back to his room and has some more nice dreams about Bazelmon, a charmer with a mouth and eyes of fire.
And Bazelmon is the Trolloc word. We don't learn a lot about the Trolloc language.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
Bazelmon's a Trolloc word. That's their name for the Dark One.
Huh, cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Mr. Fireface says, did they tell you the eye of the world would serve you? What glory or power is there for a puppet? Like, do I know you, man? Are we Facebook friends or something? Like,
and also, hey, that's the name of the book right there.
Right? Yeah, cool.
If that was the way I was like, oh, that's. And so now we're gonna find it. No, your
words. Yeah. So Rand gets mad when Bazelmon mentions his mom. Don't nobody talk about my mama like that. So Bazelmon names a couple of people, and in response, Rand says the Dark One is bound in Sheol with all the Forsaken, and he insists he isn't dreaming. And Bazelmon responds by breaking a rat's back, and then trying to break Rand's back. So Rand wakes up and wonders if Moraine could help him with his nightmares, and then falls back asleep.
These parts are pretty creepy on your first read.
Yeah. That's, I don't want to see a rat's back broken. That's just, I had a gerbil growing up. At one time we had, had the little ball that you put him in, they roll around in, and he like rolled down the stairs. So I was like, oh no, stop. It was like, and he got to the bottom, and I picked him up, and he was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
What happened?
He was like, that was awesome.
He like Zorbing, right? Except it's this plastic ball, and not the Zorb. Anyway, Zorb. Is that the right word? I don't know. I know it's not probably Zord.
Yeah,
Zord is from Power Rangers.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I totally Googled it. Zorbing. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right.
Yeah, you got it.
New Zealand. All right. So Chapter 15: Strangers and Friends. or alternate title, Country Come to Town.
Oh, yes. So we've had strangers, now we're having strangers and friends.
Indeed. Rand wakes up, finds Tom performing in the inn, and everybody else has left. Holmes has slept in, probably because of the devil dreams. Lan took his sword, so Rand figures he will too. Sure, why not? On his way out, he hears the cook and innkeeper arguing about a bunch of dead rats found around the inn. Oh, great. That's just great. Rand loses his appetite, goes to check on Perrin, who has also had the same nightmare. Wow, that's fun.
Yeah. And that would really just kind of ruin the start of your day.
It would, yeah. Even if you're in a new city and you're like want to go explore and be, see all the touristy sites, like we're sharing nightmares and there's dead rats and I had rats in my dream dying, like that's not good.
Yeah. I would probably be like, you know what? I need my medication.
I was going to say I would try to book an appointment with a psychiatrist at that point.
Yep.
Hey, it's Min. The girl dressed as a boy introduces herself to Rand in the common room.
Worst name ever.
Yes.
And I love 100%. The character of Min.
Yeah.
I love the character of Min, by the way. But her name is confusing.
It is
because
very much so.
It is M-I-N and it's pronounced like M-E-N and it's
not cool.
Yeah.
I like Elmendretta, which we will.
Yes.
Is that a spoiler? Maybe.
No, it's just her full name.
That's her full name. Yeah, we find out that's her full name. She doesn't like her full name, but that's her full name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So she introduces herself, tells Rand about her gift, which is to see the pattern around people, so to speak. So she sees what's going to happen to people, and she tells them about it, and it doesn't help.
Yes.
It happens anyway. It's like, what's the point of knowing, bro? Like,
yeah.
And she has this problem with her gift herself, really.
Yes. Yeah. It's a little bit like the Oracle in the Matrix. Like, hey, don't worry about the lamp, and then he knocks it over, and it's like, now what is really going to bother you is whether you would have knocked it over if I had tell you not to worry about it.
Man, I really wanted the Matrix Reloaded to be good. I really wanted it to, and I came out like half convinced after watching it that it was, and then I like thought, we may have gone to see that together. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like we did.
Yeah.
I feel like we did.
And I like came out thinking I enjoyed that, but then everyone else was like it was awful, and I thought about it later, like,
Well, I remember going and I think I kind of felt the same. Like I wanted to like it.
Yeah, I had a video game on GameCube, and the video game was fun. Like I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. We both. I think I borrowed it from you after you were done.
Yeah. Dang, man. And then the Matrix Revolutions was really, really bad. I mean, Reloaded was at least entertaining.
Right.
But the third one,
it was early case of threequelitis for sure. I mean,
I guess they're rebooting it. That's a thing.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen?
Keanu is having his own revival, I guess. So maybe.
Oh yeah. That guy. I mean, like, I wish he would run for president. I like to see what would happen.
I would watch that movie definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I knew. We're getting political, Sam.
Oh man. So Min tells Rand he and Egwene are not going to end up together. Sorry, fella. Rand asks her what else she's seen, and she says 3 women standing over your funeral bier. Oh, great. Well, okay, great. Well, now I'm going to go. Thanks. Really cheering me up here.
Imagine this being your first meeting with somebody and being like, I can see the future. Oh, okay. Logical question.
Tell me what's going to happen?
Right. You're going to die.
It's going to be 3 women standing over your funeral bier. Well, first off, what's a funeral bier? is that a library? So Rand's like, I'm going to go. I have a thing. Thanks. Nice to meet you, though. We'll hook up later. Bye-bye. Heads out and sees put on Fane, the peddler, who tries to get away, kind of. But Rand catches up because he has long legs.
And this is a shock because they thought he had been killed.
Right. Rand's like, we thought you were killed. Trollocs got you. And Fane says, don't mention them here with white cloaks around. Burned all my stuff. And Rand says, well, maybe Moraine can help. But Fane's like, I don't want that. Runs off. Rand runs into Matt chasing Fane, and they compare notes about nightmares. Then they head back to the inn and see 3 white cloaks. And Matt, being Matt, decides to break a bunch of barrels with his slingshot.
Hayat! Does he find rupees in the barrels?
Yeah, I'd say so. Splashes mud on some white cloaks, and Rand laughs, but then nearly runs into the white cloaks. But then they see the heron mark on his sword and ask, where are you from? Rand asks if they know where a good inn is, and Dane Bornhold, who is the head white cloak here, immediately assumes that Rand is a dark friend. Classic white cloak move.
That's pretty much what they do. It's like, hey, is this person breathing? Yeah. Oh, we're probably a dark friend,
You have mildly inconvenienced me. Hang for your crimes.
And they're just the worst. They're just
really
the worst.
Yep. So the town watch shows up to stop any violence, and that means the white cloaks think everyone in Barrelon is a dark friend. Fallen under the shadow.
Trouble. You got trouble in Barrelon City. And that trouble with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for Perrin, Matt, and Rand.
So Matt shows up after the white cloaks leave and says, Rand, you're crazy. What were you thinking? Not like it was your fault, bro. So they head back to the inn and start telling Tom about the dream. Rand mentions Baalzamon. Tom says, don't mention he who must not be named in public, dude.
And he's like, Voldemort? What?
Right. They run into Perrin, who says Nynaeve came after them and is at the end. Ruh-roh. You know what? Voldemort kind of looks like I would expect a Fade to look, but with eyes.
Yeah. I totally see it. Yeah.
Definitely. Just take his eyes away and we'd be good to go.
We should have Ralph Fiennes cameo as every Fade.
Yeah. Nynaeve is at the end. Ruh-roh! Chapter 16, The Wisdom, and we are continuing our trend of chapter names that make sense. Unlike lyrics of pop songs in the 90s.
Or just lyrics of pop songs.
On the way in, Min grabs Rand, and Tom says, "We don't have time for that, boy." I don't know. Time for what? Canoodling? Whatever. Min says, "Go juggle something," and I'm going to use that one at some point, entirely out of context.
Yeah. That's a great way of telling somebody to buzz off.
Yeah, go juggle something. My children ask me to juggle things, and I try. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
Pulls Rand away from the others and says, "Nynaeve is involved along with the rest of you." Rand says, "Her? No way, man." But he goes back and tells them what Min said. Then they go back to the private dining room in the Olive Garden and find Lan, Moraine, and Nynaeve sitting there. Lan asks how she found them, and Nynaeve says, "I followed your trail." Lan says, "What? Must be getting careless." Nynaeve says, "My daddy taught me how to hunt, and apparently y'all are deer or whatever. Now get your things. We're going home this instant."
Yeah. I like it how Lan's like, a woman who can track stuff.
Oh, say more things about that.
Yes.
Indeed. Rand says, if we do go home, the Trollocs will come back. We don't know why, but need to get to Tar Valon to find out. Nynaeve says, Tam said the same thing. The village council agreed you need to be found. Tam wanted to come, but couldn't stand on account of his massive injuries. Matt asks about his dad, and Nynaeve says, he's afraid you'll try your tricks with Outlanders and get your head thumped. Oh, yeah, that checks out. Nynaeve says, I expected this harebrained idiocy from you three, but not from certain others. Egwene says, I left a note. Okay, for a second, I like the way harebrained is spelled. I would have thought hair, H-A-I-R, not H-A-R-E.
Oh.
So more like you have the brain and sense of a rabbit, and looks like your head is full of wool. That would be wool-headed, which we which we also we have a word for that.
Yeah, slightly different. I'll say right here where Nynaeve just kind of shows up. Upon first reading, I'm like, why? Like, why didn't she just either join them from the beginning, or it's just, I don't know. It seemed a little odd to me just to have her just show up like this.
Right.
I don't know. It was a strange kind of moment, but then it's like, okay, I guess she's part of this too now.
Right.
And everything. Because you kind of get used to this idea, okay, it's, Rand, Matt, Perrin, and Egwene.
Right.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, Nynaeve's thrown in the mix here. And
I guess for Jordan, from Jordan's perspective, writing this initially, like he probably didn't have a good reason for Nynaeve to come with them.
Sure.
Maybe that was what it was. I don't know.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, Nynaeve's motivations throughout the first few books are a little, I don't know, thin to me.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Anyway.
Moraine says, Nynaeve says, a note, just as Moraine says, you and I must talk, Wisdom. Everyone leaves to let Moraine and Nynaeve duke it out, presumably. After a while, Nynaeve comes out. Rand realizes everyone else has left, and Nynaeve says she got a substitute, Wisdom, and will be joining them for a while. So Rand tells her about what Tam said in his fever sleep about, not being his daddy or whatever. And she said, people say stuff all the time in a fever that isn't true. She says that Tam returned to Emmonsfield.
Like, for example, I once said that the prequels were really great movies. So at this point, Sam and Will descended into a whole discussion about the Star Wars trilogy, various trilogies. And then we decided that maybe it wasn't relevant to have a good 10 minutes of that on the podcast. So
but we should say, listeners, if you're curious about what we discussed, please tell us so that we can have, I don't know, if we can do something about that.
Yeah, we'll do something about it. We'll figure out a way to get it out there. If you're interested, let us know.
Yeah.
And Sam and I have even talked about what comes after we're done with Wheel of Time. So,
I've thought several times, I would almost like to have a segment of this podcast where we discuss if you're a fan of Wheel of Time, but you would like to read other things,
Oh yeah,
here's
sure.
what we're reading, because I read a lot of other things.
Sure, yeah.
And most of it's not Wheel of Time, except for when I'm rereading books for this podcast. And so it's like, I would love to talk about some of that stuff, but I don't know if I should. So
well, let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and plan on the next show update. We'll do a segment towards the end.
Yeah.
And
I've got about a dozen I could talk about, but at least one or two. Like, if you're a fan of Wheel of Time, I have another suggestion for you.
Yeah.
And here are the reasons why. So yeah, that would be fun.
Now, I've got one or two that I could tell you not to read if you're a fan of the Wheel of Time.
Excellent. I look forward to that. That'll be fun. Chapter 17, Watchers and Hunters. So Rand joins Matt and Perrin in the common room of the Olive Garden Inn. The stag and the horn or hare, I don't know what the heck it was called.
The hairy horn stag.
Yeah, exactly. Hairy horn. I like that. Tom is performing the Great Hunt for the Horn. Fellas dance with the ladies while Tom and a couple of dudes play. And Mr. Jordan goes into great detail about the dance moves. Luckily, this is the only time in the entire series where he does that.
Nope, not true. You're lying, Sam.
I am lying.
You are not telling the truth.
This is something that does happen again.
Yeah. And I explained this later too, but apparently, so Robert Jordan is a pen name for James Rigney, who also was a dance critic and wrote columns about like dance performances. That was just like a whole other thing he did. So this was actually something he was like weirdly passionate about.
Right. Yeah, it comes through, definitely.
Yeah.
Rand spots a man with a scar across his face who grimaces at him and looks away. This is why we don't stare, Rand. He dances with Nynaeve and is so surprised that he trips. She says she thought he was a better dancer. Dances with Egwene and feels more confident again, yada yada. Around midnight, Moraine leaves, followed by Egwene and Nynaeve. Lan says, we got to get an early start in the morning, fellas. Matt says Scarface stared at him too. Tom says the dude was a spy for the White Cloaks. Man, that was a whole lot of discussion of nothing. Everyone heads to bed. Rand decides to get some milk and runs into a mirror draw, like you do. Quoting Robert Jordan here. A man's face, but pasty white, like a slug under a rock, and eyeless. From oily black hair to puffy cheeks, it was as smooth as an eggshell. Rand choked, spraying milk. You are one of them, boy, the Fade said. A hoarse whisper like a file. Man, really, the oily black hair part really grosses me out.
Yeah.
Rand falls backwards as the Fade glides toward him, asks where the others are. It says it will let him live if he tells it where they are. Sure. It says you belong to the Great Lord of the Dark, and then disappears into the shadows just before Lan runs down the stairs, sword in hand. Time to go to get their horses and ride out into the night. Man, not even a chance to get any sleep. I can imagine it probably wouldn't be too easy to sleep after talking to old slug face.
Yeah, that's probably one where you definitely need a MyPillow at least.
White Cloaks stop them, ask where they're going, say there's been a drag car spotted flying overhead, Camaro with wings. Bornhold recognizes Rand and yelps Stark friend. Moraine makes her voice come from all directions as Bornhold tries to cut her with his sword, which she blocks with her trusty staff. Lots of use for that staff. They ride down the Camelin Road, see flames from Baerlon, and Moraine says it was the end. White Cloaks, no doubt. And Nynaeve gets mad, but Moraine says she'll send Master Filch gold to rebuild the inn. They sleep, they wake up, they ride, sleep, rinse, and repeat. Chapter 18, the Camelin Road. 3 days since they left Baerlon. The crew stops on top of a hill to eat while Lan scouts ahead. Egwene and Nynaeve talk about tea. Lan tells them there's a Fade and some Trollocs on their tail, so no fires, ladies. Great. Tom raises the question that wouldn't it make sense for there to already be Trollocs and Fades at Whitebridge, where we're going? To which Lane says, trust the light, man. Have a little faith in humanity. All we can be sure of is that there are Trollocs behind us, Tommy. So doesn't this feel a little bit like Lord of the Rings again?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, you
will show up, the fire, whole thing.
Right.
Anyway, they leave before that can happen. Just then they hear a horn sound. Again, it's very Lord of the Rings-esque. Another one. Lance says, y'all go on, I'll handle this, and you'll know if I fail. This makes me think of, I think it's The Matrix Reloaded, where he says, I'll handle this, and what's his name? The Merovingian says, you'll handle us. Wiping his rear end with pure
silk.
Yeah. Anyway. Moraine says, the light go with you, last lord of the seven towers. Rand wonders what that means. And we all think of Aragorn.
Right.
Tom has a speculative frown on his face because he knows. Land shows back up at a gallop, says there are 3 fists of Trollocs, each led by a half-man, maybe 5. Party! Man, y'all need to level up. Know what I mean? I mean, we're going to avoid spoilers here, but let's just think for a moment of about the power creep that usually happens in a fantasy novel, TV show, movies. You just know with this many books, at some point there would be the same kind of threat. This would not be the same kind of threat at all.
Right.
I'm thinking like mangy wolves in Goldshire kind of nonsense. But Moraine translates, there are like 500 Trollocs back there, boys and girls. Okay, so maybe a little longer before it's a cinch to anybody. They'll be here in an hour or less. They're spreading out to surround us. Only directions left are north and south. So we could go to the hills of Abshire, but that ends at the Terran River with no way to cross, or to the Arenelle, and there's a chance of our trader's boat. Land says there's one place Trollocs won't go. Moraine says no way, which of course means that's exactly where we're going.
Cleveland.
Yes, definitely. Not so sudden Trolloc attack, or rather we go attack them. Lan yells, for the Seven Towers. Perrin and Rand yell, Manetherin, Manetherin. Matt yells, Karai al-Kadazar, Karai al-Ascender, Ascender. Wait, what?
Speaking in tongues, bro.
Yeah. Rand hacks as if hewing wood. Hasn't had a lot of practice yet. Lan fights the Myrddraal. Moraine employs her flamethrower staff. Handy. Lots of fighting, and then the Myrddraal has lost its head. But wait, there's more. 2 more, in fact, with lots more Trollocs. Moraine does a cool trick with her Angriel where she smacks her staff into the ground, causing a mini earthquake. Then she makes a flame wall and then falls over. Cool. Land scoops her up, and they catch up to the rest. Moraine says, she's not so strong in earth and fire, but I'm okay. Egwene says, what the heck did Matt say? Moraine says, for the honor of the Red Eagle, for the honor of the Rose of the Sun. The Rose of the Sun. The old blood runs strong and makes people speak other languages. Literally, she says, the old blood still sings. Okay. I'm a 164th Cherokee, but you don't hear me cursing in it. Hokey, RJ. Hokey. And you know, I think he knows it.
You just have to kind of go with that one.
You go with that one.
And also that's why our logo is a red eagle. Because of our
Manetherin. Manetherin blood. So you know, if you hear us blathering in the old tongue, you know why.
Yep, exactly.
Horns blow and Land says, we got to go to that place. Moraine doesn't like it, but says, okay. They ride up to what Rand thinks is a cliff, but is actually a humongous city. Moraine says it was called Eredhall, an ally of Manetherin during the Trolloc Wars. Now it's called Shadar Logoth. Shadar Logoth is what I thought of it was called when I was reading the books before hearing the audiobook.
You don't picture, with a name like that, a postcard that says, visit beautiful Shadar Logoth.
No, I definitely want to. Chapter 19, Shadows Waiting. The crew rides into the abandoned city, which makes Baerlon look like the hole in the wall that it is. They stop at a building, bring the horses inside with them. And I'm just, bringing horses inside. Like, you just know they're pooping all over the place. It's real stinky. Moraine is about to pass out and asks Nynaeve for some of them good herbs. Matt looks depressed and says he wonders why he was shouting in the old tongue. You and all of us, Mr. Cawthon. Perrin says, maybe you're Aemon reborn. Oh, great. Yeah, that totally cheers me up, Pear. Thanks. Tom says, shut up, and then goes off to smoke. The 3 kiddos decide to go explore the city because why not? Perrin at least thinks of the Trollocs, but Rand points out that they're not around because they're afraid of the city. Shouldn't that, I don't know, tell you something, bro?
Right. Yeah.
So they wander around, and while exploring buildings, they meet someone called Mordeth, who calls himself a treasure hunter. And he leads them into a room with a big old pile of treasure. And everything is going great until someone mentions Tar Valon, and Rand realizes that Mordeth doesn't have a shadow.
This is kind of the opposite of what happens in the Doctor Who episode, The Silence of the Libraries, where having 2 shadows is an indicator that you're about to die.
Man, I could never get into Doctor Who. It just seemed too British for me. Like, I tried with Christopher Eggleston, the early ones. Just could not do it. Or not early 2000s.
Right. The early New Who. Yeah, I know some people love Eccleston, and no offense to those folks, but you are absolutely crazy. To me, it started getting good when Stephen Moffat was writing episodes,
Okay.
which is later on with when David Tennant is.
I like David Tennant. I should try it. I should try it again.
Yeah.
It was just so British. The trash cans. I don't know.
Yes, the first episode is ridiculous. One of Moffat's best episodes with Tennant is called Blink, and it's a very unusual episode, but it's great. I highly recommend that one.
Cool.
Right. But Moffat took over as showrunner when Matt Smith became the Doctor, and so to me at that point it really improved. And then it kind of
Matt Smith is Prince Philip, so
yes, he is.
I'll have to try it for that reason alone.
Yeah. I don't know if he's my Doctor, but he's definitely my Prince Philip.
Yes, I agree.
The thing here with Mortis.
Oh, I was thinking of Nagini. I was thinking of Nagini when he pretends to be the old lady. It was just so weird to me. I was like, how could a snake be an old lady? I just don't get it. But I mean, I guess he's partly Voldemort anyway.
Well, she first of all.
Oh, sorry. Okay, pardon me. I definitely did not know that.
Well, you would if you'd watched. You clearly haven't seen the latest Harry Potter, or not Harry Potter, but Wizarding World movie, the second Fantastic Beasts, where we find out that Nagini was once a pretty lady.
Oh yeah, I have seen it. I'd blocked it from my memory.
You're in this city that has been established that this place is totally evil somehow. I mean, it's so bad talk, so afraid of it.
You would think that would be clear to them.
And so you walk in and there's a dude here that's like, hey guys, I'm a treasure hunter. And you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but this guy's gotta be like,
there's a little sketchy. Yeah.
This guy's I'm just not going to trust him.
Right.
But I don't know. Clearly, our boys have not seen this movie before.
They have not. And then someone mentions Tarvalin. Rand realizes he doesn't have a shadow. And then Mordeth says, you're all dead, and then disappears. So fun, good times.
That's cool.
So, that was a great time. So they make it back by nightfall. Lan's out looking for them. They tell Moraine what happened, and she urgently asks if anybody touched anything. And they're like, nope. Of course not. We wouldn't. Why would we touch all that treasure?
What are you talking about? I don't know. We didn't do anything.
She doesn't push the issue, and she says Mordeth was a man who was partly responsible for Eredhall destroying itself, and how it got the name Shadar Logoth.
Might have mentioned that earlier, Moraine.
You really would think so, but the name apparently means shadows waiting, which is the title of the chapter. So,
Yeah, which is, I know it sounds a little ominous, but isn't that kind of what you want shadows to do?
Yeah, yeah, right.
If shadows are just like moving of their own accord, it would be much more, troublesome.
Right, and Mordeth's shadow was waiting to show up, I guess. I
don't know.
So Lan shows up, says there are Trollocs inside the gate. So, time to go. Moraine says they'll head for the river because apparently Trollocs and Myrddraal can't swim. Which I don't think I'd forgotten that detail. But now I'm just picturing a Trolloc wearing swimmies.
Yes. No, totally. Swimmies and like one of those inflatable tube lifesaver kind of things.
Exactly. A giant ducky kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Chapter 20, Dust on the Wind. Down to the streets of Shadar Logoth. Not to be confused with the sewers of Shadar Logoth, which is where you spend a lot of time in the video game. Very dark place. Somehow the country folk plus Tom fall behind Lan and Moraine because that's what the plot needs right now. And there's some devil fog. Mashadar, recurring character alert, ladies and gentlemen, can kill you with a touch and can't be destroyed.
That's always a bummer, when it's like something that can kill you just by touching you. And it's just like, I don't even want to be here anymore.
It's funny how we have more than one of these characters that are these demonic, forces of air in this book, even.
Yeah. Don't confuse Mashadar with Machin Chin, who
I will probably do that this episode. Yes. Covers up the street. So can't touch it or it'll kill you. Time to go our separate ways. So Moraine points to a star and says, follow that star to the river. And suddenly Rand is by himself, being followed by Trollocs, and he's having a bad hair day. Could this night get any worse? They get killed by the fog, though. It's all good. So he meets back up with Tom and Matt and rides out of the gates.
Yep.
On to chapter 21, Listen to the Wind. Nynaeve perspective. I don't know. This is the first
What?
one of those.
What?
I want to say this is probably the first one, maybe.
Yeah, this is the first. This is the first female perspective, I think, in the whole series.
Touche.
So, yeah. So if you're listening to the audiobook at this point, you've only been hearing Michael Kramer. Then suddenly it switches to Kate Redding, and you're like, "What?
Wow, 21 chapters in. Interesting."
Yep.
So Nynaeve wakes up by herself and heads downriver, smells smoke, and sees Moraine and Lan in a clearing. Hides and hears them talking about Trollocs and wondering how they've gotten so far away from the borderlands so fast. Moraine tells Nynaeve to come on out, and Lan spins around like, you sneaked up on me again. Nynaeve says, I want to learn what schemes you've gotten these kids into. And Moraine says, oh, yeah, you could channel. Nynaeve says, nuh-uh, he's trying to throw me off.
At this point, it reminds me a little bit of a CW show where, like, by the end of it, everybody has superpowers. And
yeah, that's fair. I would say that's fair. Yeah.
Well,
I really hope Lois Lane does not get superpowers.
No, she can't. That's like her whole
that really shouldn't happen.
Except for the one episode that they do in every, because it was in Lois and Clark and Smallville, where suddenly she does for like one episode.
It's like some random colored kryptonite gives her right. Yeah, that is acceptable. Or an alternate universe Lois Lane, that'd be okay too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no. So Moraine says the people in Emmons Field told me you can listen to the wind, like for real. And you were able to track the kiddos down because you must have healed one of them at some point in the past. And this is sort of a weird little thing that, I don't know, this comes up again, this concept that if you've healed someone, you can track them. It seems a little suspect. I don't think that.
I don't know. Yeah.
It may be possible, it just doesn't play or factor again, but I don't know. It's a weird one. She says, you're lucky to have lasted this long on your own. Keep it up and you're guaranteed a violent death. Lovely. But also, you've got more potential than anyone in hundreds of years. Nynaeve says, no words about this to anybody, please. Moraine says, we could find the boys by a token I gave each one of them. Don't worry about Egwene. The Dark One does want the boys, not her. Yeah, it's the token being the coin that she gave them several chapters ago. Chapter 22, A Path Chosen. Perrin wakes up and finds Egwene and Bella. She hugs him, sets him in front of a fire to dry off. They eat some food. Egwene praises Bella. Decide to get a move on to avoid Trollocs. Opt for Caemlyn, since the Shadow Spawn probably guessed they were going to Whitebridge. Perrin asks for more food. Egwene says, "Nuh, we need to ration it." Perrin wants to be leader or something, so he kicks dirt over the fire and says, "Let's get a move on." Chapter 23, Wolf Brother. That's a fun one.
Yep.
P and E take turns riding Bella. Stop to make camp at the end of the day. What an unlikely duo. Do we ever get this dynamic again? I don't know.
They at some point towards the end, but yeah, you're right. It's not
something that happens very often. They have they both have other stuff going on throughout a lot of the books.
Mm-hmm.
So Perrin goes off hunting, brings back a rabbit, and is surprised to come back to Egwene trying to set the forest on fire, or maybe start a fire with the one power. Then another time they find some mushrooms and tell stories about Emmons Field. And so it's like, I don't know how much time happens, several days. At least another day, they smell a cook fire and go check it out. They come up on a man dressed in furs who introduces himself as Elias Mashera.
And he is the master of exposition.
Yeah, he does tell a lot of stories, yeah. He has golden colored eyes. So, dude, are those contacts? And can I get some? They're probably better than those weird possessed ones you see people wearing at Dragon Con. I mean, before COVID, anyway. Why are they always dressed as a priest or a nun or something? I mean, why has it got to be a holy man who's possessed? It's just...
Yeah, it seems like it would be anyway. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no possession in this chapter, at least. Possession's not really much of a thing.
Yeah, it's not
books.
Really. Yeah, you don't.
Demons aren't really a thing,
No, it's all very, very terrestrial.
Yeah. Unless you count the yellow eyes thing, and maybe we should. My vote is for a virus that's causing. Anyway, Elias shares his rabbit, and they ask what he's doing out in the woods, and he says he doesn't like people. Also, people don't like his friends, and his friends are wolves. So 4 wolves show up and lay down next to the fire. Perrin reaches for his axe, and Elias says, "Yep, bad idea there, Chief." This is Dapple, Hopper, Burn, and Wind.
And by the way, since we do like to point out characters, we're going to see Hopper again.
Specifically Hopper, yes. The others don't really see them again. Elias can talk to wolves, says wolves figured it out, not the other way around. Finds them everywhere he goes. Egwene asks if it's something that can be taught. Nope, but Perrin can do it. Say what now? So Elias asks what they're up to, and they tell him the made-up story. Elias says they're lying, which makes me think of Lion Cat from Saga. If you ever read those comics, lying.
I have read a little bit of Saga, but not enough to
not enough to know Lying Cat. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. It's just a cat that says lying. That's all it says, lying. Anyway, don't let your kids read it till they're older, ladies and gentlemen, because there's some stuff in there. I almost made that mistake. Opened it up and was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna hand this to my 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So anyway, Perrin tells Elias the truth, and apparently the Red Aja tried to gentle Elias, so he doesn't care for Aes Sedai much. Says talking to wolves is older than One Power and Aes Sedai, and so Elias offers to go with them, says the wolf will offer protection. Burn, the wolf, doesn't like it and leaves. Perrin can feel the wolf's hatred.
This whole business where they happen to run into Elias, I gotta say, the first time I ran through it where Elias is just like, oh, and by the way, you have this thing too.
Yeah.
I always felt like that was weak. I still feel like it's kind of weak.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like, the only thing I can think is Ta'Veren.
Exactly. Yeah. That was what I was about to say. Like, that's the only saving grace. But even with that, it's like, I don't know why hasn't this manifested before?
Yeah, right. Like when I first read it, my first thought is like, did he catch something from him? Like, did he when he shook his hand, did he like suddenly give him yellow eyes and the ability to talk to wolves? Like, did he get bit by a tick? I
don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's one of my favorite dynamics in the series going forward. Yeah. But I always felt like the introduction to it was, I don't know, it was a little clumsy.
It's a little weak, yeah. I agree with that. Chapter 24, Flight Down the Arenelle. Rand's dreaming again, not a good one. Baelzemon seems real when he pricks his finger on a bush. Baelzemon says, the light will not save you and the eye of the world will not serve you. Again, kind of a broken record. Rand says, this is a dream, which apparently are the magic words this time, and Baelzemon disappears. Rand wakes up on the spray and realizes his finger is still pricked. Well, that's not good. It just makes me think of, I think I've heard like alarms in my dream, or like even Alexa's alarms in my dream. And I've dream, but like, Alexa, stop, alarm. And it didn't work. And it was because it was downstairs. Whoa. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Dadgummit, Jeff Bezos, stop listening to my podcast. Oh, man.
I actually would really love it if Jeff was listening to our podcast.
I'm with you. Alexa is what I really mean. But
I know.
No, but you're right. He probably is a bit of a fan to greenlight all of these fantasy shows.
Right.
Yeah. That seems likely.
He's a guy I'd actually like to just know what he's like. Not like I think we would be friends or anything, but I just, what is he actually like? He's one of the richest guys in the world.
And he is a bit more enigmatic than like Elon Musk is so much out there on Twitter. Like you kind of have a good idea of what he's like.
And I would totally have lunch with Elon Musk, but
yeah, definitely.
But I'm more just curious, what is Bezos like?
So Rand wakes up on the spray, and Bail Domon is driving the boat hard. So it's kind of confusing. It's like this is a quick introduction to a bunch of characters. Like, wait, did I miss a chapter? No, this is just like things. We're catching up to what's happening here a little bit. Bail Domon is driving his riverboat, the Spray, hard because Trollocs attacked. Tom entertains the crew, teaches Matt and Rand to juggle, tumble, tell stories. Rand sees a tower of polished metal. We don't get a lot of detail about that, but it's interesting. Just kind of an example of Age of Legends-y stuff.
I think the first time I read this, and Bail Domon was an example of one that I kind of was like, oh, he's just a random ship captain.
Because there are other random ship captains that don't show back up.
Yeah,
Bail Domon
a lot of us. Yeah. And just so happens, he's kind of one of the first ones we meet, and he ends up being a reoccurring guy. He do be a reoccurring guy.
Yes, he does.
The
Yes, he do.
he do be speaking with an Indianer accent that in the audiobook sound like pirate talk.
Which is especially confusing because he's a riverboat captain.
Right.
Okay, so he's
he
just
do
a pirate, right?
he do be a riverboat captain, my aged grandmother.
Pieces of 8. So Rand notices Matt has a dagger from Shadar Logoth. Uh-oh. They talk about bad dreams. Tom teaches them more Gleeman stuff.
Well, that sounds like a good spot to call it quits for now.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. If you have anything to say, corrections, thoughts, questions, things you'd like to hear us discuss, things you'd like to criticize us about, if you want to just call us stupid, you can do all those things by visiting our website at tsmpodcast.com, filling out our contact form. If you say nice things, then we will mention you on the air in one of our show update episodes in the mailbag segment. You can also find us on all the socials at Podcast TSM on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want to email us or whatever, just straight up stuff at tsmpodcast.com. And we're also on YouTube, by the way. You can go over to YouTube. You can comment on there. We'll comment back. If you follow us on YouTube, that would be, doing us a solid because we don't have that many people following us on YouTube right now.
Right.
And no promises, but if we get enough of a following on YouTube, we might actually do like a live stream sometime. So, hey, if you want that to happen, then jump over there on YouTube. Wherever you get your podcasts, please go give us a rating and, give us all the stars if you can, and review if you want to. Tell other people what you like about our show, or, maybe what you think we could improve, because, we'll take it into consideration. We're not above it.
Definitely.
As always, Tai'Shar.